we've seen that people with borderline personality disorder, it is very common that they have had pretty difficult childhoods. There's the adverse of childhood experience sort of questionnaire. And usually there will have been at least one. And I say usually, I think the number is like 70% of people who suffer from borderline.
70% have had an adverse childhood experience, their ACE score. Yes.
Yeah. But that leaves you 30% that didn't. It makes sense to be like, well, maybe they grew up in a household where that's what they had to do. As they were formulating, how do I live in the world? I have to put forth whatever I need to put forth to keep my parents calm, because they're more likely to fly off the handle. It makes sense theoretically, but then it just doesn't always pan out in the.
But let me interrupt you, because what you said is hugely important. Yeah. So what Dr. Kanell said is these patterns of behavior of how they relate to somebody else, for instance, their parents, when they were young, this pattern of behavior was rewarded by their parents.
Right? In a sense, right?
Often what is adaptive as a child, meaning what you have to do to adapt to survive, to please your parents, to make sure that they don't get upset and abandon you, in which case you're dead, right? Can become maladaptive as an adult.
You'll see these personality disorders get diagnosed, in the late teens and the early 20s. And that makes sense, because that's when the person is sort of hatching, right? They're sort of moving, they're progressing away from the family into the world at large. And, Erik Erikson said that around that time in life, the real struggle is intimacy versus isolation. Are you able to create new intimate relationships, go out and find a new place for yourself and new partners and new connections? And if you're using an old template that worked for your parents, but has a lot of things that tend to really bother other people, then it's really gonna get you into hot water. Hence the relationship instability. And
I love that word template.
Yeah.
It's a template of relating to others.